helpful ideas, ways to get to all those office systems organized.
Yes.
And just like, what does it mean? Because you work not only with private residents, but you work with businesses. What is it like when you help them get organized? I mean, what do they say at the end of the day?
At the end of the day, their faces light up. The energy has changed in their office totally. It went from this dead energy, this chaotic environment, to now always have them like step outside the office and walk in and say, okay, now take a look at your office. And like their face just like lights up because it's like, oh my God, I've been wanting to get to this for so long. I haven't had the skill set to do it, or I haven't had the motivation or resources to do it. And now you've done it and you've helped me do it. And it transforms their life and it transforms their office at the same time.
It's almost like one of those makeover reveal shows, except for they did all the work themselves and they're doing a makeover to the office.
Exactly.
So that's kind of a little bit of insight. So let's talk, we're going into part 2 of this. Let's go into, we kind of have 4 or 5 things, systems that you can work on and kind of give one of those little makeovers and help get organized. So let's start off by talking about how to keep track of your bills. That's a big one.
Yeah, and it depends on the office you're in. Sometimes you don't have to even deal with bills. Sometimes you do, or you might be a secretary that handles your owner's bills or the head of the company's bills. So have a process. Again, create that system. Whatever the system may be, have a system to process the bills, whether it's being alerted on your phone or your calendar or having them in a certain spot every month so you can be flagged to go to them so they're not getting stuck in an inbox or under trays or under the calendar, wherever it may be. Have that process and system to deal with it. Tackle that one project. Maybe that's something you can work on this week. If you're falling behind on bills, how can you keep track of them and then create a system for them going forward on paying them?
Okay. And like you said, also, and it's so great when you have that calendar system set up. Tying the bills in and tying all that paperwork in with your calendar.
Yeah, right. Until you can get on track with your bills, write reminders. Nothing's wrong with writing reminders, getting rid of that mental clutter that we talk about. It's okay to remind yourself, write it down, put it on your tablet, wherever it is, to know to remind you to pay those bills. It's okay to write this stuff down.
You know what? I got a text message, and my credit card company started doing this, sending text alerts on when to pay my bill. And I was like, yeah, this is great, except for they do it a couple days before it's due. And so now I have no idea what day it's actually due, and then you pay it early, and then who knows what happens.
Yeah.
But it's always kind of nice to have those reminders. You write it in the calendar, you write a note.
Exactly. Get rid of the mental clutter.
Get rid of all that stuff. Okay, business cards.
Oh, God, this is huge, a really big problem for so many people. Every office I walk into, it's a huge problem. Why? Because if you're an entrepreneur or if you're networking, you get bombarded with all these business cards. And what do people do with them? I've seen them thrown on the floor, thrown in drawers, thrown all over the desk. They're everywhere. When there's no system to contain them, they're everywhere. And guess what? When you go to look for a business card, you're never going to find what you're looking for. And I'm going to give you another tip. People are spending so much money on business cards. I'm going to give you a little insight. Your business card that you're spending tons of money on is getting shoved in the bottom of a drawer, shoved on the floor. Like, they're never looking at them. So don't spend a lot of money on your business cards. I mean, Vistaprint has cards, very inexpensive. They're good quality, and they're not expensive. Spend your money elsewhere, because I see what happens to these business cards, and they never get looked at again, or they get shoved in a drawer. So don't spend a lot of money on them. But again, have a great system. People laugh at me when I say this, but a good old-fashioned Rolodex still works.
Oh, yeah.
And you can go to what you need. You can staple the card to the white piece of paper in the Rolodex, flip through when you need it, grab it, and go about your day. You can put them in a binder if that works for you. They have little inserts, the plastic inserts that fit actually business cards, so you could go that route too. You could scan them. And it might take a little longer because now you're scanning and now it takes you a little longer to find what you're looking for, but that's an option. There are so many great options out there that do what works for you, but have a system. I like to go to LinkedIn, connect, and then throw the business card away.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm not referring to those business cards. I keep the ones that I need that are important in my little Rolodex. I keep those, but the ones that I know I'm never going to use or refer to, I connect with everybody on LinkedIn and throw the card out.
That's actually a really smart idea. I mean, now that so many things are digital, just being able to have someone's email address and phone number
in your contacts.
Yeah, have it in your contacts, have it in your signature, as long as that's there. But you're right. How many business cards do you throw away or get lost? And then you end up looking for them. You're
wasting time.
And that's what she's
good
at.
Not being efficient.
And how many
time? I was in the office yesterday and she had them all thrown in a basket. So I said, your project, I'm going to leave you with homework, and your project is to gather all these business cards, figure out the ones you need, and think about that system we just talked about, whatever works better for you, and get them categorized and organized, and that way when a card comes in the office, now it's not just going to get thrown on the desk, it's going to go into your system. So that's a great little project you can work on this week or this weekend or this summer, that just focus on your business cards. It's so important because, again, they're a distraction hanging all over the office, and you're never going to grab what you need when you need it. It's all about efficiency. You want to be able to grab something and go. So business cards is huge. It's such a problem for so many people.
Yeah, and when you're working on making those connections, I think the digital connection, like the whole LinkedIn thing, is a great idea, because that's what keeping it professional. Because a lot of people reach out on Facebook and that kind of thing, and that's always good. But when it comes down to business, go for the LinkedIn. So that's a great idea. Yes. And you said too, when it comes to all these kinds of systems, is to see how it goes and then check back in a couple months.
So many systems fail, and then people don't decide to follow up with the systems, and that's how the system gets kind of lost in the mix, and you're just not functioning the way you should. So you want to work with these systems a couple months down the road, reevaluate how you're functioning, and then tweak them to make them work better for you. Don't continue to work with these broken systems. So many people do it, and that's why they never get back to being organized, because they're busy and they take the time to follow up with these systems and tweak them to make them work better.
And I think that's true too, because if you haven't been organized before, it's not going to go well right off the bat unless you're awesome at everything.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
It takes
work.
Used to.
Like I said, I describe it as that lifestyle change. You're changing the way you function, and in order to maintain this organization, you need to follow up with these systems and continue with them on a daily basis. It takes work. People think, oh, I'm organized. This is fantastic. Now things are just going to fall into place. You really have to work at it, and you really need to want it and want to be efficient and productive, and it'll happen if you work at it.
And the more that you're practicing and working through these, the better are you are going to get. And
plus, just like anything else.
Yeah, exactly. And plus, the more you're actually doing it and checking back in to see if the system's working for you, or if you need to try something else.
Right.
So I think that's
so
good.
important.
So the next thing is handling phone calls and voicemail. So how can we do this in a productive way?
Just like we talked about last week.
Emails.
Yeah, just like we talked about last week with the emails, it's the same thing, or your mail that comes in. Have a process to return phone calls. So if you're a business owner and you're not returning your clients' phone calls for 2-3 days, your clients are going to get a bad impression. They're going to wonder, oh my God, should I be doing business with this person? Or how much does this business owner really care about my business? Do they really need it? Or are they just so disorganized that every time I need to follow up with them, they're going to drop me like a hot potato? So you have to know you need to follow up with your clients on a regular basis. If they're calling you, I know some people can't return the calls right away. It's not possible. But get on a system, maybe after lunch you schedule those phone calls, or at the end of the day, but don't let it go more than one day before you call these people back, because they're gonna form an opinion about how you're functioning as a business owner. So nobody says you have to do it right away, but create that system and process to actually do it at some point by the end of the day.
And you said, and I really like this idea, to keep a pad, like one of those old-fashioned notepads or something like that, just specifically for phone calls.
Just like those old message pads that are perforated. Everybody feels like we're in this digital world now that we need to become paperless and there's not going to be any paper around the office anymore. It's impossible. There's so much paper still that's out there, and what's happening is nobody has these systems to control it, so now it's chaotic. So have that little message pad by the desk, because even for the secretaries out there, this isn't just for business owners, the secretaries to keep track of phone calls that come in, and actually that way you can go back a month and someone might say, I need that phone number. You can go back to that day and grab that phone number, and it's right there in that pad, and then save the pads for a few months, and then you can toss them. But nobody says, like, everybody thinks we're so far into this digital age. We still need those good old-fashioned systems. There's nothing wrong with those systems. They helped a lot of people back in the 80s and 70s and 80s, even 90s, and a lot of people functioned really well. This digital age hit, and people are like,
we don't know what to do.
We don't know what to do. Do we still keep the paper? Do we not keep it? But there's some systems that work really well and that were really efficient and productive. And we've kind of let it fall to the wayside now because of all this digital stuff. But those systems were really good and really efficient back then. So
I know I was looking through my notepad the other day, and I was able to find the phone number that I was looking for. And so I was wasting a bunch of time looking for it online, and I couldn't find it. And I was like, I have it written in my notepad. I just need to find it in my notepad.
And you found it quickly.
And I found it.
Nice.
So
awesome.
Yay me. Yay Kristin for telling me
I'm rubbing off on
how to handle my life.
You're gonna be so organized by the end of the year.
Well, that's the hope. All right, workspace. So the workspace is really important. You go into offices and you see people's desks. either super tidy and neat and you go, what's wrong with them? They must not even work here. Or, no, I'm just kidding. Or sometimes desks are a total cluster. So how can we make our work life more efficient by creating a good workspace?
So, and I'm sure many people have heard this before, you only want to keep on the top of your desk what you're using on a daily basis. If you have tons of pens and highlighters on your desk, I mean, how many pens are you using a day? I always say that. How many? Probably 1, 2, a highlighter.
Well, color code things, Kristin.
So take off what you're not using. It's all this stuff on your desk, the sticky notes stuck to the computer, the piles of paper on the desk, it's all distractions for you, and it can reduce your productivity and allow you to lose focus. So you want to take your whole desk, take everything off the desk. Just like you're reorganizing the spaces we talk about. Everything comes off the desk. As you're taking it off, think about what you're using on a daily basis. Make your categorized piles on the floor, and then look at that, and your desk is clear, and say, what do I really need to live here? And doing that breaks down the process, because somebody might say, oh my God, I have so much stuff on my desk, where am I going to start? Just start by taking everything off and categorizing it. See what you have on the floor, what's left that you're not using on a daily basis, you can create a system for, maybe it can live in the drawer. So the less you have on your desk during the day, the less distracted you'll be and the more productive you'll be.
Okay. And you said, too, we talked about not having the sticky notes, but you said try to avoid having stuff stuck up like a cork board.
Yeah, like
have just stuff around.
Exactly. I organized an office not too long ago with the bulletin board behind us, and we went through the whole bulletin board. There's a calendar from 1972 under everything. So you never know what's going to be out. If you keep adding stuff to that bulletin board, so here's a great project. If you're working off a bulletin board, this week, next week, take everything off the bulletin board. Figure out what's there.
Birthdays don't change. Holidays don't change. So what does it matter what year it is?
It was great. It was that burnt orange and green, like from the 70s. It was awesome. So think about what's there. You want those bulletin boards are meant for grabbing things. Your eye goes to it, and you go about your day. You don't want to touch 5 pieces of paper on that bulletin board to find what you need. There are great organizers that are desktop organizers now. They look like an open binder that sit on your desk.
Oh, yeah.
Staples has them. And they sit there, and you can flip, and they're clear, and they have tabs. So it's almost like an open binder that stands up on your desk that takes the place of that bulletin board, which is great. And also, when you have that bulletin board behind you, your client's sitting in front of you, they're going to be so distracted by what's on that bulletin board, they're not even going to listen to what you're saying.
Yeah, that's very true.
So
that's
another. So instead of tackling a whole project next week, whatever, tackle these little things we're talking about. The bulletin board one day, your desk another day, getting on a system with your business cards another day. So breaking that process down will help you get through this. Don't feel like you have to oh my God, I can't do my whole office in a day.
Everything at once.
So, but that's great for the bulletin boards, figuring out what's there. And some people get all rid of it, and then they get rid of the bulletin board. They're like, I wasn't even looking at half this stuff. Again, it's a distraction. It's just sitting behind them.
And then talk to me about time management. How can we do all of this and then become more effective in our job?
So many people say, Kristin, I just want you to work with me on time management. Well, if you're living in a chaotic space in your office, you have to clear that space and get organized in your physical space before you can work on your time management. It's impossible to tweak those time management skills if you're disorganized physically in your space.
Yeah,
you need to have good systems in place. You need to have your space in order, because then once everything's in order, your systems are in place, then we sit down after. That's my favorite part, working with the clients. After we declutter and get organized, now we sit in this nice organized space and I say, okay, let's talk about process. Let's talk about how you're functioning on a daily basis. Before we couldn't do that because it was so disorganized. Now I'm like, okay, take me through your day. And sometimes I'll do a time grid to get people started. I take them from 8 o'clock when they come into 5 o'clock. I want to know what they're doing all day. And then
looking for stuff, digging through stuff.
So the process, certain times of the day, they say, okay, I have to be in this meeting at 9 o'clock every day. I say, okay, so let's plug that in your time management grid, because we know every day at 9 o'clock you're busy. Then we start plugging in different processes that they function with throughout the day, and we start giving them structure in their day. So we really break that process down, and then I let them work with that time management grid for a few weeks, and then I follow up and say, okay, you're following that grid. What's working, what's not working? They'll say, well, the fire comes in at this time. Okay, well, let's tweak this to make it work better for you. We know those fires that come in, but then you can go back to that structure that you had. That's the fun part for me, is working on that time management with them. So again, it's all about structure. And you start with that grid. There's nothing wrong with that. You work with it for a few months, then you're going to be like on autopilot after that. But in the beginning, it's awesome. I love working with people on time management. And having that time grid is awesome.
You get everybody in line.
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right, Kristin, thank you so much.
Thank you, Molly.
So we've helped everybody, hopefully, helped you some. Get things in line for your office and your workspace, getting everything clear, efficient, organized. So Kristin MacRae with Organizing in Our Eyes. So you can look her up. She also writes for Go Local Prov every week. So helping us get efficient and organized and moving things along. Thank you,
Molly.
Kristin.
Thank
Always
you.
good to see you.
You too.
Thank you.